What's up, YouTube? It's Freight here. I just realized I probably didn't do my Stank Blaster deck profile. If I did, I'm not even gonna upload this, but just making sure. My starter is Milius because you want to be able to tutor out a grade 2 on demand when you stride if you don't have the combo pieces you need. Usually fetches a twin sword or like a Lu. So that's why we run Milius. You could run cool stuff like Tet Goal. It does work. Pretty funny with Stank Guard. You can also, was it Jump Goal? Jump Goal was the starter name. That's a fun card. Anyway, we run 4 heals, self-explanatory. 4 Flogel crits because they're playing the Blaster engine. Flogel is absolutely amazing, tutorable off the on-right of Stank Guard, and just a really good card. Running 4 Alt Mile crits because we run the Alt Mile Stride. It can help you dig into your deck if you want to. You can commit it for more power on Stank Guard and then use its skill so you can have a card back in your hand. I mean, almost every time I use cards like these I draw a crit though, but sometimes I don't and it feels good. So that's why you run that. And then I just round off with another 4 crits. So 12 crit. You could run stands and be cool. There are actually some pretty funny things you can do with stands in this deck, especially the Seeker stand, but that depends on the meta, because right now there's a lot of control, so stands are a little iffy, especially in Stank Guard, because you kind of only have your pushes. If you have to rely on stands and you're playing against Kagura or Link Joker, you're in a bad position, so you might as well just try to crit sack them in those unfavorable matchups. Moving on to grade 1s for GPGs that unflip because you want to unflip damage. I mean, sometimes you actually don't burn through your counterblasts, but that's if you're having a lack of combo pieces, but this is to ensure you have more open counterblasts. You could just run the 1 Hope Keeper for Benon, up to you. It does kind of help because you can tutor out a PG and add it to your hand, but it does burn through your counterblasts a lot quicker. Ideally, you want to save those for Twin Swords and Lus and Flogels. 4 Stride fodder because we don't run the normal 8 or 7 grade 3s, we run 6, so we want more ways to stride because pitching 2 to stride feels bad, but it still happens anyway. So 4 Stride fodder. I'm running 3 Bart Gold. One could be swapped out for many of other cards, but this does help with the consistency of the early game Blaster engine if you just sack hard enough and open like a Blaster Blade and then like the Flogel and the Lu and the Bart Goal, and you're just like, look at me, I can do stuff for almost free. So yeah, you could run like Alara, you could run Battle Song Angel, I think it was, whatever that grade 1 was. But anyway, rounding off grade 1s, 3 cards that Soul Blast 1/1 called from deck to draw a card. You can use on your on rides or just off your Benons, which is the ideal way you want to use it. Sometimes it feels bad when you can't stride and you gotta like ditch a crit trigger to call this to Soul Blast 1 to hope to draw either a combo piece or like just something to stride with. It's happened to me. I was playing in a tag tournament the other weekend, and let's just say I didn't get to stride a lot, or it was a really bad pitch 2 to stride. Moving on to grade 2s, we run 4 Blaster Blades because it's a Blaster engine. All different art except for the one promo from the manga, but because I sold them. But anyway, that's not important. Really, you want to ideally run 4 Effect Blaster Blades, but this one looks really cool. And this is the one I usually tutor out first, because if I'm not going to use this Counterblast 2 to retire something, then might as well get it out of the way in case late game I do need to. So just be wary with that. And they're also cheaper, like At the time, this was like 10 bucks, and these were floating 15, 17 each, so this was cheaper. You can be budget and just run those if you want. 4 lose, some people run 3, but I like to have the chance to go off early game and just finish them on like my first stride if at all possible, because when you push them hard enough and then you just stride into Regale, you can win right there. So it's good to be able to just go off and kill them. Or even on your first ride of Sandguard, like if you just sack hard enough with like a Flogel and a Blaster Blade and hitting a crit or two, you can potentially win the game right there as well. So consistency for the early game kill plays, even though they don't happen that much, it's better than a lower chance in my opinion. And then we run 4 Benon, also for early game, mid, and late game actually, because getting a board back for Counterblast 1 is pretty decent, though your only targets are the Mirons / Richards / PGs. So you can either build your deck around this, or just, have to deal with the fact that your Benon will be dead at some point, so you just gotta play around that. And I run 1 Twin Sword. Some people usually try to find space for 2, but I don't actually always use it. I mean, it is good to use, but it does burn through your counterblast much faster. It does make your kill turns much more potent, and you can fetch it off of that. So with 2, if you don't run the risk of having to either, if you ride your 1 copy or you damage your 1 copy, but you can live without it. The deck is very, very strong without it, and it's just a good card, but not 100% necessary in my opinion from my experiences, and it doesn't end up on ride or in the damage as often since it is only a one of. But when it does happen and you do need it, it does feel bad, so what can you do? Run more copies, I guess, but yeah. Grade 3s, 4 Sank Guards because it's a Sank Guard deck. No Arc, so we're gonna have to make do with other cards. I usually have been running double Exiv for Legion and the Link Joker matchup, because before GBT07, Link Joker was the harder matchup because you could basically do nothing after a certain point in the game. And then grade 3 to round it off is I'm trying out 1 Alt Mile. I don't actually run the GR Alt Mile yet. I'm still on the fence about that one, but sticking with at least 1 copy for the same matchup and sending back triggers late game is decent, because in the Kagero matchup, and they do open the heals and have everything to just stop your plays. I mean, you're going to have to try to bait it out anyway, but after that point, your deck's probably going to run out of steam. So with Legion, you can get back triggers and you can swing for decent numbers, so you at least have a better chance of a comeback after your board gets cleared. Trying out the 1 Alt Mile because I can search it out and aggro with the Sisyllus or whatever his name was, the Stride Fodder. And it's just a decent card if you ride it. At least you have an on stride, so there's that, as opposed to Alfred. But you could just run double Exiv or double Alt Mile or something, depending on your meta, honestly. Moving on to the G Zone. 3 Regale, because this card is nuts. Really good card. Though if you ever end up having a stride 3 and you haven't killed them yet, something went kind of wrong, but it happens. Just combos well with basically everything in this deck with the Blaster Engine, because Flogel resigning your Blaster Blades that swing for really good numbers usually 21 plus. It's really solid, and that's why you can usually, or not usually, but you can win on your first stride if you're lucky enough. 1 Godblade, it's kind of your first stride if you don't open any combo pieces at all to go off. Like you just have a hand of PGs and triggers. If you don't want to call them for like a Regalia push, you can just safely Gobblade. Or if you're feeling greedy and know they don't have like a PG, you can go off with Gobblade too to get like your Lu and stuff off. 4 aerial alt miles because if you don't want to hard commit or you just don't have combo pieces for Regalia, this is another thing. Once you're at GB1 and then you stride into him, you can use his skill to Superior Color Grade 2, and it does at least make your rear guards hit for decent numbers with the +3, so your Benon lanes become 17s, which aren't bad, and your Lu lanes become 22s if you have the Bart goal, so pretty solid. Run 2 Saint Blows because it's a Persona flip, so you have to run 2, and there are times where you can just Saint Blow for game because either you can do it when they're at 3 or 2 if you're feeling lucky enough for the double crit, but if you know they don't have the PG and you want to try to sack a win like that, that's always an option. Or late game, if you know they don't have a PG, you can just make a huge Vanguard lane with crit, so that's always a nice option too if you don't want to rely on the Blaster Engine to get multi-attacks off to kill them, or if you just don't have it. Moving on, we have 2 Holy Squires for the Link Joker matchup. This could be several different cards. It's completely up to you, but I personally have this there just for Link Joker because it does take away 2 slots that could be basically any other card. You could even fit a 5th G Guardian if you wanted to with this, or you could just throw in a Sea Breeze, even though your deck doesn't really run off of GB, so that's an option. Run Screw because it's one of your highest shield value G guards, and the fact that we don't even have a good Screw clone because that new card we got is pretty sad because it's a continuous. 2 Laser Guards because it's our best inherent shield value card, and we can still intercept with it with our grade 2 if need be. But in control, almost never gets the +5k, so feels bad. And 1 Dismal, because sometimes you really want to protect your Twin Sword, your Blaster Blade, or your Lu, or maybe even a Flogo depending on the matchup. So that's why we run 1 Dismal, since these usually can get higher shield unless you're playing against control, and this is just protecting rear guards, and this is just big shield value guard. And that's the entire deck. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.